You said that the industry is no stronger than its weakest link, and there are lots of indices out there that attempt to rank according to quality the different citizenship by investment programs out there. What do you think is currently the weakest link in the industry, and what do you think is, which country or which citizenship by investment program do you think gives you comfort and allows you to sleep soundly at night, so to speak?
Malta is a European Union country. It has a reputation for having a very solid program for citizenship and residency that has very secure due diligence processes in place and transparency. It's by no means perfect, but there is no completely secure system in the world. But if we're looking for a model, not for just the European Union, but for a model for the entire globe, I would look to a country like Malta. And I would ask the Maltese authorities to look beyond their own self-interests, understanding that they're in a competitive environment, and to take on the obligation to work with, to essentially mentor other countries, including those in the Caribbean Basin, that are still trying to develop their programs in a way that should make the entire industry, and more importantly, the entire global community feel safer.
I know there are talks in the Caribbean of getting together and unifying the programs in certain respects. Now that will include vetting practices and information sharing, and a number of countries now have already implemented policies that say if you've been rejected at another citizenship investment program, you're automatically ineligible to apply here. Some go even further and say they should unify their pricing in order to stem this downward spiral. What do you think about this proverbial race to the bottom, and what can be done to mitigate it?
I am greatly concerned by this race to the bottom, and we've seen it happen very, very quickly as the prices have gone down. And again, because of the horrific hurricanes, acts of nature that have caused just tremendous damage there is a profit incentive, a desperate need for capital investment in those countries that have been hardest hit. But lowering it to a point that the profit margin becomes so small that really, unfortunately, negatively impacts the amount of money that those countries should be spending on deep due diligence is a topic of concern. You're absolutely right. The Caribbean community is an example of a group of countries that happen to be geographically located very close to one another, has said the right things in terms of sharing information and working together to avoid literally island hopping. But they have not, in my humble opinion, done enough in true action to ensure that that is actually occurring.
You came into this space as a skeptic from the get-go, as a cynic in fact, but that through exposure to the industry and through tough questions of the people responsible for doing due diligence in the industry, you've in time sort of come around to the idea that citizenship by investment can be a legitimate means of raising foreign direct investment, and that the risks, if done correctly, are minuscule. But not everybody in your position has the ability or the time or opportunity to attend these conferences, for example, or to speak with the key individuals. So I'm wondering, how do you think that the industry can solve its perception problem when considering those constraints?
You're absolutely right. I came at this from a very skeptical, indeed, as you put out correctly, cynical point of view, having spent my entire career working in the counterterrorism, counter-narcotics area. I was posted overseas, and we were very much concerned about the efforts of transnational narco-terrorist organizations that were looking for any means available to evade the long arm of the law and to carry out their criminal activity across borders. And so I was very closely watching these programs and deeply concerned at what I perceived as legitimate vulnerabilities and weaknesses in the global counterterrorism infrastructure. I've been very honest about that, and I have talked about it extensively. And I give credit to the industry for recognizing that I was a very vocal critic, a very vocal skeptic and cynic, and bringing me into the discussion and not asking me in any way to temper my ideas or thoughts or opinions unless I needed to adjust. And I've had the opportunity over the past year to speak with leading entities within the industry. I have become more and more comfortable with the degree of safeguards that are being put in place in order to minimize and mitigate risks to the global infrastructure. My humble suggestion would be that if folks within the industry do everything they possibly can to educate individuals within the government that, like myself, especially early on, are cynical and critical of these programs, to be more proactive about going out and meeting with government officials, particularly from the United States, Canada, and the European Union, and to engage in a dialogue with them. And that proactivity, I think, is necessary because government officials, as you point out, are going to be very skeptical at first because they don't, frankly, and it's not their fault, fully understand the programs. And so that dialogue, whether it be with government officials or those with Interpol or Europol or Borderpol, educating the community in a proactive way.
Self-policing is very important for this industry because if we don't weed out the bad apples on our own, then the state will step in and do it for us, and they will not be so understanding in their approach. You also said that some countries and governments are waiting for any pretext to step in and stamp down and even close a lot of these programs. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
The program and the industry is only as strong as the weakest link. And so these countries recognize that they are competing for high net worth individuals, need to come together to share information, to share intelligence in a way that prevents a savvy person from essentially venue shopping and island hopping. And in order to make the industry safe as a whole, to making sure that all programs, including the smallest program, is complying with what I would hope to be a sense of self-regulation within the industry. Because one bad thing happens, something goes boom in the night, and the authorities trace that particular horrific event back to any of the various citizenship by investment programs, it will not only have a horrific impact economically on the particular nation state that was managing that program, but it threatens to shut down the entire industry. If the industry does not come together to self-regulate, regulation will be imposed by individuals from outside that don't understand the particular nuances.
Peter Vincent, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.